Yellow pink flowers with a buzzing bee.
Hey, it's Green Thumbs Up Day. Yes, folks, it is Sunday. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How are you on this beautiful Sunday past Eid? It's just a little bit odd still for me, kind of going around during the day and maybe having something to sip on or something. It just feels odd. It feels different. But here we are. Subhanallah, we've made it through another year. We've made it through another Eid. And we are going into a very, very important time of the year from a gardening perspective. And of course, this is Green Thumbs Up, which is your gardening and natural living show. Last week, if you recall, we had Sister Shagufta Khan on the show. And she was telling us a little bit about her past and her history with plants and all of that. And just before we left, there were two main questions that came in. And I said I would address them on the show. So let's get to it. The first one is with regard to joint care, and the other one was with regard to foot fungus. So I'm going to address those, and then we'll be talking to Dr. CARY Goodwin, who is our sustainability expert, and she is one of the very, very key individuals in the Nurseries Association in South Africa, and so she has a vast amount of knowledge in terms of horticulture. So she's going to be taking us through what to do in our gardens in April, inshallah, and you can catch her on Facebook with me, on YouTube, and of course, if you're joining us on Radio Al Ansar, then you're on 90.4, pardon me, in Durban, and Pietermaritzburg, you're on 105.6. You can WhatsApp your questions, your comments, as always, to 060 904 1056. So let's get to those questions first of all. So with regard to joint care, somebody's messaged in and said, what can we do for our joints? So the first thing, of course, is to make sure that you're eating a diet that is not too acidic. A lot of sugary foods will turn to acid in our body. A lot of things like excess of onions, excess of spices, we're talking extremes, okay, can make our bodies quite acidic, as of course can stress. So we have to fight the root causes of the acid in our bodies. A good thing to do would be to take a few drops of apple cider vinegar in water. You can do that in the morning, or you can do that throughout the day. Our spicy teas, our chais are actually really good. So things like your turmeric, your cloves, your cardamom, all rolled into one in a tea is really, really great also for your pH. Then if you still have pain, topically you can apply castor oil to your joints, rub that on. If it's due to arthritis or rheumatism, you're going to find that the pain disappears almost immediately. It's quite miraculous, subhanallah, that is castor oil. And then internally, if your medical doctor would allow it, always make sure that you are, liaising with your medical doctors. Then you can get onto glucosamine chondroitin. Glucosamine chondroitin is really, really excellent joint support. Later in life, as we go into andropause and menopause, perimenopause, all of those pauses, then we also want to make sure that we are eating healthy and that our veins and our arteries are working well. And that will also support our joint care by taking nutrients where it needs to go. And for that, we can, of course, get onto something like berberine. That's going to help to build our immune system, help to build our joints, etc. Some of your doctors may prescribe calcium. If you do take calcium, do consider taking calcium with magnesium so as to make it more easily absorbable for your joints. And there we go. That's on the joint care. The other question that we had was on foot fungi. Yes, foot fungi. So you can find me on the socials as Life Coach Rabia, and I did post a video on this if you want more detailed information. But there is a chemical that is available at most pharmacies. It is a chemical, but it is also something that's widely used to kill cockroaches. And by now you will have guessed what it is. It's called boracic powder, also known as boric acid or boric acid powder or boric powder. and that is a great one to kill off any form of toe fungus. It also is great to kill off fungi in the garden, so that's a nice one to have. Boracic powder for the foot fungus, you are going to fill up a little bucket with 5 liters of boiling hot water, and to that you're going to add 2 tablespoons of the boracic powder. You're going to let the water cool just enough to get the toesies in, the footsies in, and leave it in for 20 minutes. 20 minutes is all you need, and then you can apply it as a foot powder. This is not something you want to have around where kids could ingest it, but it is something that's going to kill foot fungi, toe fungi, etc. So those were the questions that came in from last week. Now, whilst we wait for Dr. CARY Goodwin to join us, I wanted to actually talk about the weather. Yes, indeed, the weather, darlings, because the weather is very important for our gardens and it's very important for our moods. And this time of the year, as our seasons are changing, so too our weather goes a little bit wonky donks in the week. So we can expect today the temperature is 27 degrees in Durban, but it's got more of a real feel of 29. Monday will be much the same, a real feel of 29 at 27 degrees. Then on Tuesday, it's going to get really uncomfortably humid and a real feel of 33%, but it'll only be 33 degrees, but it'll actually only be 29 degrees. And then, of course, because of the high humidity, we are going to be facing rains. So thunderstorms on Wednesday. And then we ease off into the next weekend with partly sunny skies. So it's going to be a week of heat, humidity, and a spot of rain on Wednesday, just to cool things off ever so slightly. So we have on the line with us Dr. CARY Goodwin, who is a regular on our show. Every month she is with us, every month to 6 weeks. And CARY Goodwin is somebody with a wealth of knowledge in terms of gardening, in terms of horticulture, in terms of sustainability. She has worked on government projects for sustainability in terms of water specifically, and she is with the South African Nursery Association, so that it deals with all sorts of nurseries and types of nurseries, plants, indigenous and otherwise. And she's joining us today. We're going to be talking about April gardening. So good morning, Dr. CARY. How are you?
Good morning. Very good. Thanks on yourself.
I'm good, thank you. It's always great to have you back on the show.
Wonderful to be here. So excited. Whenever I get your message, I'm like, yay, we get to chat.
Before we start even, we have already a few messages came in. So Mfundisi Jackson has joined us and says, I am listening to you while I am in my garden. What the perfect place.
Yeah. Music to our ears.
Music to our ears, absolutely. And then we've got Brother Manu Govender who says salams, wa alaikum salam. Enjoying the discussion. Question, what's the alternative for vinegar as it aggravates the ulcers, please? Okay, so that's a quick question there. The alternative to vinegar is, of course, lemon juice. Now, both of them are going to become more alkaline in your body. But if you cannot take either of those because it aggravates your tummy, then kombucha is a good one to get because it is a probiotic drink and it is going to help to balance your pH. And you can also take a good probiotic that contains Lactobacillus acidophilus. It's one of the most important bacteria to keep our gut pH more alkaline. So that was in answer to those questions. CARY, we always sidetrack here.
We do.
So tell us about April.
Okay, I was going to say, can I carry on with your talk about the weather?
Yes.
Because it feels like here in Gauteng that we are living in Durban. It is
Really?
so humid. We're having lots of rain. I'm not quite sure when we last saw the sun. And I want to say I'm so jealous of the beautiful sunshine that you're going to have this week and the higher temperatures. Because I feel your gardens must be thriving and really just blossoming and blooming. And our are feeling a little bit waterlogged.
Yeah, I think for the most part ours are happy, except that we also get a lot of rain. Last weekend, for instance, dear listener, you will know here in Durban was torrential rain. I think it was Friday night into Saturday, was it Thursday night, and then into Friday as well. We had loads of rain. Salams coming in from Sister Fatima Effendi. Walaikum salam. So yeah, it's been hot, but we've also had a lot of water.
Okay. So with a lot of water that we've been having, we're finding a lot more diseases in our plants and in strange things like our lawn. You take for granted that your lawn is going to be beautiful with all this wonderful rain that we've been having. But our lawn is actually, I think, saying, oh my goodness, I'm drowning. Please
This
just
is
try
too
and give
much.
me some air.
Yeah, and the aerating, I'm always taken back to the shoes my dad made for me when I was 9 years old to aerate the grass. They were not shoes. It was just a flat piece of wood that he had kind of cut out to more or less the shape of a sole. And then he drilled nails through it so that the long nails into the ground. And he'd say, these are your, what did he call them? Your stilts. So you walk through the garden, and as you walk through the grass, it aerates the grass because there's,
That's an excellent idea. I think your dad was a genius.
So you strap them onto your feet with just some fabric or whatever, and it works. So if you've got an old gum boot, you can, get the really long nails and drill it through the base and then put a sole in it, and you can walk around your garden and aerate it.
I think that's really good because a lot of people, the thought of trying to walk in and or it's difficult to either have to hire the rollers or not get the rollers. And so I really do think I love this shoe idea. I'm definitely going to be sharing that with others. Thank you.
There you
I'm
go.
not sure who's learning more, you or me.
We learn with each other. This is that
True.
show. Yes, everybody's an expert. Nobody has all the answers. Gosh. Now, there's lots of stuff that we have to do in April, and I know as the weather starts to change, people want to get rid of all the leaves. And I was just commenting with Buddy Govender, who does the Sunday Breakfast edition just before our show, that we really actually do need those leaves.
Yes. So I love April in the garden. I just feel it's a time of renewal. It's like the mini spring.
And you took the words out of my mind. Mini spring.
Yeah. So the leaves are amazing for compost and mulch. So, try and use those leaves to put them around your plants, put them around your trees, or put them into a compost heap. But don't ever put them in those black bags and put them on your pavement. I mean, that just break my heart in so many ways. So I think try and use your leaves for mulch because we do need to start. I know you don't get so cold in the tub, but maybe just protecting your plants, putting that extra layer of mulch helps the weeds stop growing. It keeps our soil temperature a little bit warmer. And our roots, we always think of winter time as root development or roots getting into a nice cozy bed. And that's what you want to promote in your gardens now for winter. Because.
And you raise an interesting point because you talk about, keeping the warmth in the soil. But what I find in Durban is that I find that the winters can be a bit dry. And although we have humidity in the air, it's dry, so the soil gets really dry. So by having that mulch, you're also retaining the moisture from when we have these heavy rains.
Yes, absolutely. No, I mean, mulch is essential. I think we can't understand how people don't understand how important it is and how much easier it makes gardening. And also it brings in the cyclic nature of garden. The leaves are falling off the tree naturally. And if we as humans didn't like a very clean and tidy environment, they would naturally fall at the base of the tree to form a mulch around it. A micromat for all the insects and different things that will break them down over time. But sometimes as humans, we think we know better. And we must rake them all up and make them tidy. And then once they go, hopefully go to the garden centre and buy mulch. But it's been provided for us, so we must use it to us.
For sure.
Yeah.
You know, in terms of the mulch and people liking things looking clean, and yes, in August and in winter when things are more asleep, it in a way is easier to make things look completely tidy and completely clear, but it also looks barren. And so I say when I say, someone will say, oh, that garden looks so untidy, all the leaves have fallen down to somebody's garden. I'll say, no, it just looks dormant, as it should. It's asleep.
Yeah.
So the leaves are the blanket. It's sleepy.
Yes, exactly. But then there's so much beautiful things that you can start planting in your garden. You know, all the new seeds are out. So you could start putting all your leafy green veggies, your cabbages, your broccolis, your, I always think your cruciferous, if I get it right. Veggies are excellent one. We have in lovely kale and chow, you know, so all our veggies, stir fries and that kind of thing, already growing these seedlings. So that's quite a bonus. My favorite is also the bulb. So we've started getting the daffodils and stuff and the freezers. You know, there's lots of indigenous bulbs that we can start planting, which will give us beauty in spring. And I think that they teach us the essence of gardening, that it's a journey, and you actually have to be patient, which I never used to appreciate about bulbs. I like the instantness of the pansies and the primulas that I plant them and they flower within 2 to 3 weeks. And the bulbs, when I plant them and they don't flower for about 3 months, I'm like, oh my goodness, I've forgotten about them by then. And then we get this beautiful surprise when they do flower. But I think those are lovely things to start planting. And then
we just had a custom. Sorry, a lot of the bulbs also come up with in the winter. Some bulbs coming up in the winter, and then some in the spring. I always look forward, Carrie, in the springtime when I'm driving here in Durban. I didn't see it so much in Joburg, and I don't know why, but there is I forget the name of it now. It looks like a little I don't know, like a little pink lily almost, and it grows wild on the embankments, and it grows through the grass. And I look forward to those in the springtime because they're this pinky, purpley. If you know the color, I mean, if you know the name of it, dear listener, please do message us on WhatsApp. It's kind of on the tip of my tongue at the moment. But they are so pretty. That our WhatsApp number 0861904156. Yeah, they're really pretty, and they come up just, you know, you have all of these bulbs in the springtime, and we don't realize it. Get them in now. I knew a lady who used to grow her yellow daffodils in one section of the grass. She used to bury them among the grass. And so in the springtime, up came the daffodils. And when she mowed the lawn, then obviously the daffodils would get just kind of cut off, and then they'll just flower again.
Yeah. No, I think bulbs are remarkable like that. The pink one might be a crinum or of the family. Because they're indigenous to South Africa. And you find quite a few different varieties of them. They're quite tall though. So I'm not sure when you think about like felt grass you would cut through there. Or it could also be, but I think it might be is this the franthus. They come more in a white and a light pale pink. But let's see, maybe some of the listeners will know exactly which one you're talking about. But I think that is with bulbs. They do give you that surprise and that beauty. And then, you know, you get one favorite is always the hyacinth, which I actually plant in a vase in the home. And I plant it with pebbles, but I put it into soil. And then we get to see the roots grow through, and then this, it's for me it's a true appreciation of how the plants grow, and I get each stage of the development. Yes. So I really do love that as well. But I also think, you know, now it's time to go and look in your garden. And just even the succulents are starting to flower. I'm really surprised at some of the plants that are flowering in our garden that didn't flower now. Like the piclanthus. Our indigenous shade-loving piclanthus are blooming and gorgeous. And I think, you know, I love going in forest areas or to go walking and see all the different varieties that are actually coming through, because they could be growing in our garden or they could just be growing naturally, which is really special.
I think nature's a little confused lately because we've seen like really, really long seasons of some types of flowers, and even my borage, I was like, why is the borage still growing? You know, there are plants that just keep on growing and they're coming up at strange times. My yarrow should not be germinating now for the winter. It should be germinating in the spring, but it's sprouting everywhere. It could be the rain. We've just got one quick question, Carrie. Salams walaikum salam. Hope you're all well in studio. Please help with ants. So ants in the garden, I know we've mentioned in passing in the past. I'm just going to give one tip and then I'm going to give over to Dr. Carey. So what I do for ants is I will take equal parts of bicarbonate of soda, boracic powder, and icing sugar. If you mix those three together and then you add just enough water to make a paste, then you can put that paste on the back of drawers, near pipes, and that's going to kill off your roaches as well as your ants, although ants are really a valuable part of the ecosystem because they're going to show you, hey, these, aphids here, so look out for where the ants are. They can be valuable, but if you're overrun by ants, the poison will do you. Carrie, from you on ants.
I was going to say, we use diatomaceous earth. So I really love that. I would sprinkle it in the back of my cupboard. I sprinkle it sometimes, on the edge of my bar where the ants are coming through. So especially within my home, I use a lot of diatomaceous because of the pets and the children. Then at least I feel that I'm not putting any poisons around. And it works really nicely. In the garden, actually, I might sometimes, if I'm not, I was going to say, I do like the idea that the ants show you where the aphids are. And so I try not to garden. I feel that's their habitat and they get to stay there. Because they don't, to me, they don't do a lot of damage in our garden. They are insects.
Yes.
So when they start coming to my home, then I'm like, hey, you putting in my space now.
But Carrie, I'm not going to lie, you're in Joburg. I used to live in Joburg. Come down to Durban and we'll talk again. Because ants in Durban, do you know what? When I got you, I thought first thing I saw was these really big black ants. And I was like, what in heavens? What is this thing? And they bite. And it bites Aina. Okay, and then I see little red ants, and I'm thinking, now how do I have red ants as well as big black ants? And then I see these teeny tiny ants that eat your grout. They literally come into your bathroom and carry your house away. And then, of course, you've got here the termites, and you'll find like all of these white and slightly golden colored termites. So we don't want none of those. That's a little different to your Joburg ants. Joburg ants are calm. They're like, they're like bus drivers. Ours are more like taxi drivers. Yes, they are kind, but they can be very naughty.
Okay. So sometimes then you do have to resort to some of the pesticides because they do help, and they are, if you use them according to the instructions on the back, on the boxes, they do work wonders. And I have to admit, I used one that almost looked like breadcrumbs. And so I used to use that in my house, and then before I knew about diatomaceous, and it used to be these breadcrumbs that the ants would then take back to their nest, and then it would release the pesticide in the nest itself. So it actually didn't cause problem or dead ants around your home. It would cause it in the nest itself. I always thought that was kind of a safer option.
So this is what happens with the recipe I gave out, the bicarbonate of soda with the boracic powder and the sugar. They take it back to the nest and it wipes out the whole nest. So you're not necessarily going to find as if you've sprayed poison. But that said, there are a couple of herbs I was remembering when I lived up in Joburg in Edenvale. I used to grow a lot of pennywort. So not the ginkgo biloba types, but the actual pennywort, the fine little one. Because you get the penny royal and the pennywort. Yeah, I'm talking about the pennywort, the one that smells like mint. And I found that, so I found that taking that pennywort and rubbing it over the counters, that did keep the ants away. But then, your counters look very crunchy because you get all these little green bits lying up against the wall. So in my kitchen, you'd come in and all along the windowsill, there was little green leaves. And it's the pennywort. And mint does that too.
I think what you could do is, as you say, when you rub it, I often put, and I think we've spoken about it before, I put rosemary twigs in between my when I'm sweeping my house. So then that's releases the rosemary, especially if you are putting your doorways or I want to say the cracks where the wall meets the paving.
Yes.
That will also really help the ants away naturally. And it feels like you're doing the job anyway, so you're sweeping around. And rosemary's got quite a nice invigorating smell.
It is. It's got a lovely smell. And yes, I did use rosemary in Joburg. I did try it in Durban, but the ants just laughed at me and carried on anyway.
Let's say thank you for the party environment you're providing.
Thanks for the green stuff. Thanks for the green stuff. We'll use it for our nests. I tell you, the ants here will laugh at you. And the roaches will laugh at you whilst they are up in the skies. One of our listeners has shown me the lilies that I was talking about that grow on the road. Nice, and yes, they are spring lilies. That's the image she sent us. Spring lilies.
Okay.
There is a picture. Yeah.
Oh, I would love to see it so I could learn.
I'll have to forward it to you. They are little lilies, and they're kind of a soft pinky color with that yellow inside.
Beautiful. There must be pollinator plants. And I think that's another thing that we should be mentioning. Because now is the time to start planting some poppies for your pollinators, throwing out some Macleland daisies. I'm looking for any vacant land close where I live, because I always just go and throw Macleland daisies in this land, because then I think I'm beautifying environments which might be a little bit barren and hard on the eyes in winter, and especially in Gauteng we get that winters become very brown and boring. So I always think Macleland daisies, brighten it all up, and when people see them on their pavement, open felt, you're going to be like, that's beautiful. So one of my contributions to the environment.
Yes, just throw some seeds, scatter some seeds where you go. In fact, if you're wanting to, have some really rich soil for the springtime, another thing you could be planting down at the moment is hemp, the kind of hemp that you can buy from porridge stores and whatever. So it's not anything psychoactive, but just the actual hemp plant. A lot of the hemp seeds that you buy for your breakfast porridge, you can throw those out and they will germinate and they will grow. And it can restore the soil completely. In 2 to 3 years, it completely regenerates the biome, which is amazing. So if you have some spare land and you're wanting to strengthen it a little bit, that's one you can plant. And the other thing I learned about that I didn't know, and this was something I learned a few years ago, was stinging nettle. So stinging nettle apparently also returns a lot of nutrients into the soil. So why not plant your stinging nettle, harvest it so you can dry it for your home apothecary. And stinging nettle is amazing as a sideline, to completely clean out your blood, for your urinary system, for kidney support and bladder support and liver support if you don't take too much of it, of course. Stinging nettle is brilliant. And then you can use it in your compost because it is a compost activator.
So actually, when you talk about stinging nettle, I remember one time on a radio show, the listeners said, how did she get stinging nettle? It's fantastic for arthritis. And at first you didn't know what it was. She said there's plant that's excellent for arthritis. And it was in my very early days. And we never really spoke about, I'm going to call it weeds or medicinal plants a lot. I had no idea. And then thankfully another listener phoned in and said, stinging nettle. And I was like, can you buy that in garden centers? And then I was so fortunate. I went to a friend in Cape Town, and she was growing it. Her only garden was a bathtub where she lived. And she had stinging nettle. Can I take some of your plants? And I wrapped them in the newspaper and I brought them home. and they grow fantastically. I have them all over my garden in pots and all around, and they do sting me every time I start working in the garden. But it's lovely to know that they compost activated. I didn't realize that. And
Yes,
I just love them.
I do love stinging nettle too. And we're going to keep talking about stinging nettle when we come back because boy, oh, it's one of my favorite topics. But we do have to take a quick ad break. So, dear listener, please stay with us. You're with Green Thumbs Up on Radio Al Ansar, and we're going to catch you right after the break.
Radio Al Ansar, 24/7, 365.
Elegant, stylish, and affordable. Al Noor kurtas are designed to make you feel confident and stylish with intricate embroidery, vibrant colors, and comfortable fabrics. These kurtas are sure to become your go-to choice for everyday wear and special occasions alike. Visit the Al Ansar bookshop at 207 West Road, Overport, or call them on 031 208 1601. Al Ansar Shop, your one-stop Islamic shop.
Hajj Seminar 2025 will take place on Saturday, the 12th of April at 207 West Road in Overport. Program director will be Hafiz Hussain Wadi. Program commences at 7:15 a.m. and will culminate at Zohar with a scrumptious lunch. That's Saturday, 12th April 2025 at 207 West Road. Proudly brought to you by the Al Ansar Foundation and the Capital Group of Companies.
اللهم إنك ترى ما نزل بنا في غزة من الأحوال يا ذا الجلال والعزة يا ذا الجبروت والعزة اللهم أعز أهل غزة اللهم فرج عن أهل غزة اللهم فرح أهل غزة اللهم انصر أهل غزة اللهم داوي جريحهم اللهم اشف مريضهم اللهم اقبل شهيدهم اللهم ارحم ميتهم اللهم كفكف جراحاتهم وبرد آلامهم اللهم واجعل لهم وللمسلمين فرجا قريبا يا الله اللهم فرج عنا وعن المسلمين في كل مكان اللهم انصر الإسلام وأعز المسلمين واخذل الشرك والمشركين ودمر أعداء الدين يا رب العالمين سبحانك سبحانك ترى الظالمين فتمهلهم حتى يظنوا أنك تهملهم وتبتلي الصالحين في الدنيا حتى يستيئسوا فإن استيئسوا أتيتهم بنصرهم اللهم إنك تعلم أن جراحات المسلمين كثيرة وآلامهم كثيرة في كل مكان وفي كل زمان اللهم فانصرنا على أعدائنا يا الله اللهم فثبت أقدامنا يا الله.
Getting you through your day. Radio Al Ansar.
Welcome back to Green Thumbs Up. Green Thumbs Up on a Sunday. That's your gardening and natural living show you didn't know you needed. And we are talking to Dr. CARY Goodwin. We're talking about gardening in April and all of the wonderful things that need to happen. And just before we went to the break, we were talking about stinging nettle and how it can regenerate your plant, and it's a great super little compost activator. Now, CARY, when I first looked into stinging nettle, I met an elderly lady. I don't even know how old she was. She was an elderly lady, and she had this little book, and she said she's going to give me this little book, and it was all about stinging nettle, and she had bought it in the UK many years before, and she'd had it translated because she spoke predominantly Zulu. And this was a book in English. And when I read the wonders, I think it was called The Wonders of the Nettle, and how they can use the outside leaves. So how do I say it? So the stem, the actual outside of the stem of the stinging nettle to make paper, similarly to the way you would use hemp to make paper. And I thought, that's odd. That's very new. So it's great for that. It is great for arthritis. The needles, the sting of the stinging nettle is actually what stimulates the healing in the joints through the inflammatory response, which is so weird. And of course, if you've ever touched a stinging nettle, it itches. It itches to good heavens, it itches. But the solution for it is inside the plant. It's the juice of the stinging nettle. So you may go running around trying to find something that you can put on there because it's itching, and it's all it is just go back to the plant, cut the stem open, and take that juice. That's what gets rid of the sting in stinging nettle.
Amazing.
It's the juice itself. Let me see if I can turn you on. Dr. Carey, I'm not sure. Can I hear you? Are you there? Oh, there you are. Okay, perfect.
Sorry.
And I
I was
just
going to say, how amazing is that?
Yes, awesome. She. I think it was fascinating. So, the very young stinging nettle leaves, we can put them into our food, and they're very high source of potassium, very high source of iron. Stinging nettle as a tincture is, I use it, I make it at home as a tincture, I make it at home as a honey as well. And it's great for sore throats. I recently had tonsillitis, so it works. It helps. It helps, even if it doesn't take it away. But you make it as a tincture. It's great to clean out your blood. My dad, many years ago, was diagnosed with some platelet issue. There was not enough plasma in his blood, basically. And the doctor said, he's only got so many months, and they need to take the medicine. He needs to take this medicine and then come back and see how it goes. And I said, Daddy, you need to just get onto stinging nettle, because it completely rejiggers, for lack of a better word, your blood. It rebalances everything in your blood. And after 3 months, he was fine. And the doctor said, I wonder which of the tablets worked. And my dad said, it was none of them. I didn't take any of them. I took the stinging nettle.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's a great one for people who suffer from hemorrhoids or piles or sciatica. It's a perfect one for sitz baths because it has such a beautiful anti-inflammatory kind of thing. But it does make hair grow. So if you do use it on a sitz bath, just be prepared. Make it only just for your bottom and not for your legs, because, yes, you'll grow hairy legs. Stinging nettle does promote hair growth. So that's my little thing on stinging nettle. Let's get back to gardening in April.
Okay, so the other one that we had a customer actually asking us for this morning. And then I said to him, it's quite a new trend, and I think you guys probably do it very well in Natal, is the planting of fruit trees. So people are realizing in smaller gardens, maybe we don't have suitable trees anymore, which we do. There are a lot of lovely indigenous and exotic trees. But actually, we've also realized that we want to start becoming a bit more sustainable, maybe planting more pollinators and that sort of thing. And so fruit trees are starting to become quite a popular option. Also because some of them are deciduous. It's not our citrus, but our stone fruit trees are deciduous. So they let a lot of light into our homes in the winter when we need the warmth. And then they provide beautiful shade trees and fruit in our summer months. And especially for the trees going into spring and they're in full blossom. It's just a wonderful tree to start having around. So I thought, maybe have a look around and see, do you have a space that you could plant a fruit tree? And even if you don't have a space in your garden, maybe you could plant something in a pot. If it's a big pot, obviously it does need to be quite big. But the fruit growers are actually realizing that people want fruit trees, so they are adapting and putting them onto strong rootstock. They're grafting onto strong rootstock. A smaller type of tree, so you could even grow like a cherry tree in a pot.
Yes.
And those are the things I think we have to look, because growers are adapting to meet the needs of consumers. And are we changing our lifestyle? We could grow our own cherries, or we could grow our own apples. And I think that's quite an exciting thing to look at, especially go and look at the space that you have. You put in a fruit tree at this time of the year.
Do you know, it's such a good one, the fruit trees. I have to say that the reason I grow my exotic fruit trees in pots, I grow them in 75 liters or 100-liter pots, and I find it's because I always think if I do have to move, I can take them with me. Because, I've got different kinds of custard apple trees, from the Anona, the Rollinia, the soursop. I've got some canistel or egg fruit and some sapote trees and marula and things like that. And I find, you can actually grow them very well in pots. It's not exactly the same as a bonsai, but what I do is every 4 years only, and I do it only twice on every tree. So 8 years, and then I don't need to do it anymore. So what I do is I plant the tree in. After 4 years, I do cut that bottom third of the roots off. Otherwise, I don't touch the roots of the plant. But every year within that pot, I find that from the outside, so from the inner part, the very far outside corner of your soil, I remove like a trench right around the pot of soil, all the way down, and add fresh soil mixed with compost around there. And then, of course, feeding your fruit trees. It's such a nice thing to have. Such a nice to have your own little olives, and you can experiment making a little bit of your own olive oil. Your cherry trees, as you said, the flowers, the trees. Those are some of the first to blossom, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. Coffee trees, the flowers smell like jasmine. It's so wonderful.
And they've got that beautiful fruit. I think it almost looks like a Azigim or raspberry fruit with that red berry.
Yes.
I just think, wow. And my favorite, I love citrus. I have a lot of citrus trees when you come into the entrance of my home. They're all in big pots. But I like it because, again, it's for the fragrance. I'm not very good at adding the lemon juice to my water, as you advised at the beginning. But in my mind, I'm doing that.
In your mind. And you can grow, of the citrus, there's beautiful lime trees that grow a little bit lower. Or you can have a kumquat, and train it into like a lollipop tree, and you've got kumquats.
And with some of this as well, you've got variegated. So you get the variegated calamandan. You started getting the variegated lemon trees now as well. The lemon becomes in a variegated one. And there's a new one that's just been released. I think it's a lemon eureka rosy. And she's got a slightly tinge to her, both in the leaf and in the fruit. So I think that's lovely. And then the one thing to remember with your fruit trees that we forget is that because they are grafted, most of them, you just need to watch that sometimes the graft doesn't get excited and then shoot out suckers. And then you actually have to, as soon as you see that, you want to cut it off. We had a customer who had a caviar alarm, which he said was delicious. Mine hasn't fruited yet, so I'm not sure. But it had sucked and he was like, he brought it into, can I cut off my sucker because it seems to be taking lots of energy from the plant. So we said, yes, definitely. Cut off your suckers. So anything below the grass, cut it off. So that your plant doesn't waste energy on stuff that's not going to produce fruit.
Yes. It happens a lot to the lemon trees, because I know that nurseries tend to graft the lemon trees so that they will bear fruit in the same year that they sell the lemon tree. But the wild lemon tree onto which the fruiting lemon is grafted sometimes takes over.
Yes, and it's quite often thorny. The stems are like a good old-fashioned Russian lemon with those vicious thorns and very peels or skin.
So you're talking about that, and that's what happened to my lemon tree. So those are now the lemons I've got, because it took off and it's got these very big thorns. But these are the sweetest lemons I've ever eaten. They're the ugliest lemons. They are the ugliest little buggers. When I look out onto the tree and I see these lemons, I think, what on earth happened to you? They look like, you've taken a ball of pastry and rolled it into really thick soil and silt and dirt, and because they're full of nodules and I have sprayed them, so it's certainly not a problem with the growth. It's the actual variety. But I cut one open, and I love lemons, and I said to my son a while back, I said to him, he said, Mom, what are you eating? I said, I'm eating a lemon. He says, what do you mean you're eating a lemon? You can't eat lemons. I said, well, try this. He said, where'd you get this? I said, from our tree. The tree didn't bear when we got to Durban. So my father said, give it a hiding. And I thought it was ridiculous, but there he was with a wooden the mop stick, right? And my son with a broomstick, and both of them on either side laying into this tree that had not borne fruit, in the first 5 years, and now it is covered in fruit. So anyway, long story short, I gave this lemon to my son. I said, try this. And he puts it in his mouth, prepared to scrunch up the face with the acid of the lemon. But then he's really surprised and he says, this does not taste like lemon. I said, no, it doesn't. It tastes juicy and it tastes delicious. And yet it is an old lemon. So I don't know. I'm going to send you pictures and you can help me identify that particular lemon. But
Cool.
yeah,
That would be
have
lovely.
them.
Lovely.
Yeah, but they can take over and they are thorny and yeah.
I was going to say, we have one on the farm.
You have
And I
one on the
remember
farm.
trying to pick the lemons, and actually with my hands came out bleeding because the thorns, scratch you when you're trying to pick the lemons from the inside. We hadn't cleaned it very well either. So that's also something that's not for now, but later on in the season when we talk maybe in June or July, is to look at pruning your plants, especially your fruit trees or stone fruit trees to get more lighting. So once they've finished all the leaves and then photosynthesis, that's such a word. Then and even not if it's a fruit tree, but even your other trees, your deciduous trees are ideal to prune them in the winter, so that they have really nice shape when they are dormant, rather than trying to prune them.
So we've got our seeds that we need to put in. We've got our cruciferous vegetables, always our lettuce. Beetroot, we could put beetroot down now at the moment.
Beetroot's excellent. Onions.
Peas and beans and onions and things like that are great. And then your fruit trees, we said, you can even plant them in pots. So if you've got a balcony, you can have the pot in the sunny corner where it gets the heat from the wall as well, which will be reflected heat.
Very.
And then can we put some annuals in? Are there some nice annuals?
Best annuals ever, because there's so many edible annuals.
Yes.
So you should be planting like your pines and violas. Then you could plant your calendula to add to your curries, not only for that tart type of taste. So you could add those. Petunias, not edible, but you could add them in those hot sunny spots because they are going to love the winter. And they are going to look gorgeous. And there's so many nice new petunias on the market. There's a whole range all about milkshakes. So it's like a blueberry shake and a strawberry shake and a raspberry shake. And so actually, I just think when I look at my I plant them into pots in my garden. Then I'm like, it's almost like I'm drinking a milkshake. And I look at the different plants. I'm one of those suckers. I love to plant for the name.
Now, why are they called milkshake? Are they striped or are they just pastel colors?
So they're actually like a blended, so not quite striped, but they have a blended color. So it would go, if you imagine when you go and buy, say, a chocolate milkshake or something, and you have the syrup at the top, and then it drains down the glass with the different colors. And they're beautiful.
Milkshake
I love the variation.
We're going to go and look out for milkshake petunias while you.
I'm going to send you some photos.
About some other annuals that you can put in.
So it's also then your traditional ones like your gazanias, the anthus, looking really lovely. But I also think don't rush plants that maybe were still looking beautiful, like our solar steps and our patience are looking lovely. Some of our beacon impatiens, they didn't do so well with all this rain. But our summer garden, our zinnias, actually are doing really nicely still. So don't rush. Don't go and pull out your beautiful flowering pollinator plants that your bees are loving until they finish. Their lifespan. Let them enjoy being beautiful in your garden.
Yes.
Sweet peas.
Sweet
Don't
peas
forget
on that
to
note.
plant your sweet peas. For
And
that
on the
lovely
note of
fragrant smell.
Sweet peas are divine and they're going to be beautiful come the springtime.
Yeah.
But
Because I think we're going to have quite a cold winter.
I think it's Durban, so hopefully we won't be that cold. But I feel sorry for you guys up there. You guys up there, we may have a cold spell of a week or two, but you guys in Joburg are always taking more strain than us when it comes to the cold. But I cannot believe our time is done, Carrie. It literally is 10 o'clock and it's time for the news. So I'm going to have to say goodbye to you until we see you again next month, folks. We will see Dr. CARY Goodwin again at the start of next month for more of our monthly update from me, from the entire team at Radio Al Ansar, green thumbs up. Remember, today is a beautiful day to be happy. Until we see you next week. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bye, Dr. Carey.
Allah created everything. What about that tree, so beautiful and green? Can you see the wind brushing those leaves? Look at that fish swimming away in a beautiful ocean under the waves.